Welcome back. You're watching Sky News. In just a moment, the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they come into us. But first, our top stories. Tributes are being paid to the former boxing world champion, Ricky Hatton, who's died at the age of 46. A minister has told Sky News that appointing Lord Mandelson as the UK's ambassador to the US was worth the risk after his sacking over Jeffrey Epstein links. And Sky News understands the UK will return migrants to France for the first time in the coming week under the terms of the one-in, one-out deal. You are watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. In the next half hour, we'll see what's making the headlines with political journalist and broadcaster Theo Usherwood and journalist and author Christina Patterson. So let's see what's on some of those front pages for you now. The Times says the Prime Minister has been told by Labour MPs that he is in the last chance saloon as he attempts to use President Trump's state visit to regain the political initiative after the Lord Mandelson scandal. The Daily Mail claims officials at Number 10 were aware Lord Mandelson had suggested paedophile Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged. The Daily Telegraph reports Labour's benefits rebels have backed Andy Burnham in his rumoured plans to potentially challenge Sir Keir Starmer's leadership. The Guardian reports the Prime Minister has condemned protesters who use the St George's flag as a symbol of violence. The Eye reports prisoners and ex-offenders could join a 4-year apprenticeship scheme to fill 5,000 welding vacancies in the defence sector as UK ramps up its war readiness. Show's over for phone grabbers. That's the headline in the Metro as the police task force chief promises to take down criminal gangs in the West End. The Express reports Sadiq Khan faces calls to quit after a whistleblower accused the London mayor of refusing to face up to industrial-scale grooming gangs in the capital. The Sun dedicates its front page to tributes to the boxer Ricky Hatton, whose death was confirmed today. The Star leads with a tribute to Ricky Hatton from former boxer Barry McGuigan, saying he was a man of the people, a great man inside the ring and a wonderful man outside of it. Well, we're joined tonight by political journalist and broadcaster Theo Usherwood and journalist and author Christina Patterson. Welcome to both of you. Let's start with the front page of The Guardian and that headline there, PM condemns protesters who used England flag as symbol of violence. Britain will never surrender to far-right protesters who use the English flag as a cover for violence, says Sir Keir Starmer. Christina.
Yes, well, I'm pleased that Keir Starmer has finally spoken out on this front. I mean, yesterday was horrible, absolutely horrible. I cancelled my plans to go into central London, and lots of people did, and we watched aghast as it was taken over by masses of far-right thugs, including Elon Musk, who wasn't there physically, but who gave an absolutely shocking speech via video, essentially calling for the overthrow of British democracy, saying that that Parliament should be closed down and there should be a new election. I mean, it's disgusting interference, but there was violence. Police were injured. Some police officers were injured quite seriously. It is really, really revolting, and to see some of the people who are rallying to the cause is just disgusting. You know, Tommy Robinson, people like Katie Hopkins and, well, as I say, Elon Musk. There are a lot of people kind of who are not necessarily allied with reform. I would imagine you would find a lot of reform voters in that crowd. Nigel Farage has been quite careful not to actively endorse it, just as he has been in relation to Tommy Robinson. But Keir Starmer has been doing a delicate dance, and I feel not, you know, rather too much on the other side for a while. I mean, he gave that terrible speech when he talked about a country of strangers, which had really unfortunate echoes of Enoch Powell.
But he rode back from.
He did row back from that, but, you know, anyone could have told him that had echoes of Enoch Powell. He should have read his speech before he gave it. If you're going to speak out about this kind of thing, you need to be incredibly, incredibly careful. We live in a country that in many ways, is one of the most successful multicultural and multiracial countries in the world. I think London is probably the most successful multiracial and multicultural city in the world. And I think to present immigration in this country as some kind of disaster is just, I mean, obviously profoundly offensive to people who are immigrants, who are children of immigrants. I'm a child of an immigrant. Obviously, I'm a child of a white immigrant. But, you know, it's a very, very unfortunate message to be sending out. And I understand that he's trying to keep Reform voters on side, because the fight now is at the next election, according to all the polls, is between Labour and Reform are currently ahead in all the polls. But, you know, when I hear Keir Starmer saying, as he did in a recent interview, how much he loves flags, and that he's even got a St George cross in the Downing Street flat. I mean, I thought, well, you know, I'd love to know the context of that. But he did need to say, and has now said, that the appropriation of the St George's flag by some of these people is disgusting, and that it is really important that people feel safe in their own country and in their own streets. So I'm glad that he has, apparently under pressure, but I'm glad he's finally spoken out.
Yes, he said our flag represents our diverse country and we will never surrender it to those that use it as a symbol of violence, fear and division. The question now, though, I suppose, Theo, is how he goes about reclaiming the flag.
Yes, I mean, what he's trying to do with this statement is, of course, to do exactly that, to say, well, the Union flag, St George's flag, doesn't have to represent this particular group of people that came out on the streets of London yesterday to protest against his government. And, of course, as Christine has mentioned, you've got the likes of Tommy Robertson, a.k.a. Stephen Yaxley Lennon and Elon Musk and the like. But at the same time, and the Guardian talks about this in their front page story, the context to the statement is actually that both flags can have a different meaning and that they can be more of a unifying rather than being used to divide people. And that is, as the Guardian reports, is in direct response from many Labour MPs who feel that under his leadership, and particularly the way Number 10 is run by his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, there's been too much emphasis on trying to ape Reform, to copy Reform and Nigel Farage in trying to ensure that Labour can hold on to particularly red wall voters in the north of England and in the Midlands at the next election, rather than, as Labour MPs would see it, standing up for Labour values and for the diverse country that the UK is.
Just going back to the march yesterday, you said that they were far right. Do you really believe that everybody on the march yesterday was far right and racist?
I don't believe that everybody was far right and racist, but you have to be careful about the company you keep. And the messages that were sent from that stage and some of the placards were pretty disgusting. So if you're not far right, I think you should probably ask yourself, why are you walking with these people? Because the overall message was very much one of very extreme political views. And the idea that this is about uniting the kingdom is just laughable, because it's so clearly not. It is so clearly meant to be about division.
It's been a difficult couple of weeks for Sir Keir Starmer, and we turn to the Daily Telegraph. It's rumoured that Andy Burnham might be a challenger to the throne, and he has behind him Labour's benefits rebels backing him in this rumoured leadership bid.
Yes, so think back to that welfare reform rebellion that Rachel Reeves wanted to, and she entrusted Liz Kendall, former welfare work and pension secretary, to try and push forward these £5 billion a year of cuts to disability benefits. And in the face of widespread opposition from Labour MPs, it became clear that whatever SOPs were offered to the backbenchers, that it wasn't going to go through, and those cuts amounted to nothing. We might hear a bit more about reform of welfare later, but we know that when Rachel Reeves comes to draw up her budget, that she just does not have the political capital to go anywhere near cuts to welfare reform. She's going to have to rely on tax rises, primarily £40 billion or so. So we're talking about that cohort of Labour MPs that ranges somewhere between 50 and 120. It's quite a large range if you're just talking about, who who would lend themselves potentially to their support to Andy Burnham. I think it's important not to underestimate the importance of Angela Rayner's resignation in all of this and the window that it creates, having resigned 3 posts. She now sits on the backbenches, relatively disgraced. Any leadership bit that might happen from Angela Rayner cannot happen at the moment. And that creates a window of opportunity for somebody like Andy Burnham to launch a bid to take over as leader from Keir Starmer. As the Times and now the Telegraph also reports that Labour MPs, many of whom think the Prime Minister's in the last chance saloon. And it's very difficult when you see a government in this particular state. They're in one hole fighting one fire, and another one pops up in another hole somewhere else, and it just becomes incredibly difficult for an operation to get back on the front foot. And obviously Keir Starmer's got the opportunity tomorrow with ahead of Donald Trump's state visit and possible deals on nuclear power plants. But it feels as if Andy Burnham sensed the opportunity. We're going to see this deputy leadership contest with Lucy Powell. I think probably now has to be the favourite to win. And it feels as if there is going to be some sort of challenge, probably within the next 12 months. But having said that, the only caveat I put in is it is a jump. He isn't in Parliament at the moment. He needs to find a safe seat. And it might be that you could see Reform suddenly just backing away from a by-election just to ensure that Andy Burnham makes it into Parliament. You'd have to think, because, of course, if you think back to Runcorn and Helsby, there is no safe Labour seat at the moment.
Christina, what do you think about this threat from Andy Burnham? Is it credible? I mean, he's always said in the past that he doesn't want to go back into mainstream politics.
I think we can assume he does want to. Yes, it absolutely is credible. I think what is interesting is that there is a poll that shows at the moment that he's the one potential Labour leader who could beat Farage. And I have to say, if that is the case, of course, polls are just a snapshot in a moment, so we have no idea how things will be looking in 4 years' time. But he's certainly a credible candidate. I think all the backbenchers that you're talking about, Theo, and, we're constantly hearing about Clive Lewis saying he's unhappy with Keir Starmer. Well, was Clive Lewis ever going to be happy with Keir Starmer? I mean, clearly not. And all these MPs who are objecting to welfare cuts, I mean, I understand why you would object, but there were manifesto promises made, and the budget, the books have to be balanced, and the economic situation is very difficult. So I do think, I have the sense that there is a bit of a backbench bubble where obviously anyone can see that Keir Starmer is in trouble. He's had a terrible time. He's made some very big mistakes. And I don't think anyone would say this is the ideal person to run the country, but we don't have an ideal person to run the country. The choice at the moment is looking as if it's going to be between Farage and whoever is the Labour leader. And it's going to take a pretty compelling figure to beat Farage at the next election. And we don't actually have much evidence that Andy Burnham is that person. He is more charismatic than Keir Starmer. That's certainly true. But there's not an awful lot we can tell from his record in Manchester that would indicate that he's going to be brilliant at running a country of 70 million people. So I would say, I think it's possible it will happen. If he can beat Farage, I'm all for it. But I think it's all a bit early, frankly.
We shall see. It is early days, as you say, but we shall soon see. Christina and Theo, thank you very much for the moment. We're going to take a break. Coming up, The Sun is paying tribute to the late boxing legend Ricky Hatton on their front page. We'll discuss that and more after the break.
Sky News has been given exclusive data showing every Palestinian who has been killed in Gaza since the war began. Our analysis of this pattern in the killings suggests that entire families were wiped out in their homes or shelters. The data and forensics team is a multi-skilled unit dedicated to providing transparent journalism from Sky News.
We located footage of the aid drop to a tent camp in central Gaza. these airdrops are falling in extremely populated areas.
We combine traditional reporting with advanced analysis of satellite imagery, social media, and other open source information. Now, this is just one of the strikes and incidents we've been able to geolocate across Gaza. Sky News has found Nazi speeches and marching music have been used as background sound on tens of thousands of TikTok videos as far-right groups try and spread their message. Sky News has seen 72,000 posts used in this way. There's no evidence yet of foul play at Heathrow. It shows weaknesses that enemies could take advantage of. Elon Musk says it is, quote, a viper's nest of radical left Marxists who hate America. Supporters say it saves lives and projects American power and influence.
I think we would generally be called far-right, sure.
It's called Return to the Land, and they invited me in.
A lot of people are going to be, why are you making Nazi references?
Right. Well, why wouldn't I?
Its founder says he is building a fortress for the white race.
It's a racial association. I kind of want to ask you, after seeing this, do you think what we're doing is immoral?
We followed a social media trail that led us to Bristol, where a confrontation between protesters erupted into a full-scale riot.
Here it really is pitched battle skirmishes, hurling missiles, throwing punches.
I'm Tom Cheshire, Sky's data and forensics correspondent.
What might happen if Russia attacked the UK?
This is clearly an enormous show of force.
It is definitely out of the ordinary.
We ran a war game with former ministers back in the hot seat.
Ben Wallace.
Amber Rudd.
Jack Straw.
It's the kind of war game that's genuinely tested inside government.
The Russians are signalling that there may be an attack.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? I'm Deborah Haynes. From Sky News and Tortoise, this is The War Game. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm David Blevins, and I'm Sky's senior Ireland correspondent. I've spent 30 years reporting the journey from conflict to peace. The end of the political stalemate, the start of a new chapter for Northern Ireland. Catholics and Protestants now facing the same threat.
If we both contract COVID-19, religion's nothing.
Sky News, the full story first.
Fire, shouts the commander. There's a dash to safety.
We've now got to wait inside the shelter to see if there is incoming.
I'm Deborah Haynes, Sky's security and defence editor. Should Russia's war with Ukraine escalate significantly, pilots like these could be called upon to go into combat for real.
Welcome back. You are watching the press preview. Still with me, Christina and Theo. Let's take a look at the front page of The Guardian and this story around the incursion of drones, Russian drones, into Polish airspace. The foreign minister saying that it was really just about testing NATO's reaction because the drones weren't carrying any ammunition.
Yeah, of course, the context of this is there's some hope, we'd think, of a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine that Donald Trump is presiding over. And we know, of course, that Vladimir Putin has not paid. He always seems to be wanting to push the boundaries of what is going to get over the line, and pushing the boundaries specifically, I think, of Donald Trump, and whether he can actually stand up to him. And we've now had this latest incursion into Poland's airspace. Poland, of course, is a member of NATO. And Radoslaw Sikorski, who is, of course, the foreign minister of Poland, has said that all of the drones that flew over Poland were dud, but as he said, it suggests to me that Russia tried to test us without starting a war. And it's clear that Putin is always pushing at the boundaries. And the fear is that if he signs some sort of deal with Volodymyr Zelensky, that he will only go away, rearm, recoup his forces, and then potentially come back for either further chunk of Ukraine or indeed a NATO nation.
Christina, do you think this warning from Putin is being heeded as seriously as it needs to be?
Well, certainly not by Trump. I mean, everyone else is absolutely terrified. And today there were Russian planes flying over Romanian airspace. So, I mean, it's, you know, taking the proverbial, isn't it? Basically, it's literally taunting people. But it doesn't matter how far he pushes Trump. Trump always says, oh, well, you know, one day I'll threaten you. Trump is absolutely, clearly doesn't want to do anything at all. He's totally enthralled to Putin. And in the unlikely event that Putin does sign a peace deal, I can't see a route to it. But if he did, you know, no European country would have any reason to feel safe. And the Baltics are absolutely terrified. Sweden has obviously joined NATO in order to, because it's terrified. What those countries are doing in terms of warning their citizens about how to respond to war, it's very real there. I mean, people feel it as a kind of real possibility. It is a real possibility. So no, we couldn't have a more unfortunate leader of the US at the moment in terms of what Putin's doing. And Putin keeps pushing, and he's been taking Trump for a ride. And if Trump were brighter, he would realise he's being publicly humiliated every day, but he doesn't seem to notice what's going on or care.
Theo, take us to the Times and an intervention by the Pope. We haven't heard from him for a while, have we?
This is his first. This is his first interview that he's given. It was given in July to a Catholic news website, The Crux, where he's taken aim at Elon Musk. He's condemned the huge salaries of top chief executives, and he's actually highlighted the boss of Tesla and his possible rise to becoming a trillionaire. And in the interview, he asked, if we lose the sense of those values, what matters anymore? For example, CEOs that 60 years ago might have been making 4 to 6 times more than workers are receiving. The last figure I saw, it's 600 times more than what average workers are receiving. It's going to be very interesting to see how the White House responds because, of course, of the American background of this particular Pope.
Christina, what are your thoughts?
I'm in love with the Pope, but obviously it's slightly unfortunate because A, I'm married, and B, the Pope is not allowed to get married. But I think he's wonderful. I'm not a believer, but I think he is a wonderful man. I mean, he works out at the gym for hours every day. He's got a motorbike. He wants flatmates in his new flat. He doesn't want to live in palatial splendour on his own. And he's in my kind of politics. I mean, it's absolutely crazy what CEOs earn now, and the wealth gap in America, and the fact that the world's richest man is calling for the overthrow of democracy, just shows that being a successful CEO is no indication of anything except your ability to make money. I think the Pope is absolutely great, and the fact is that he has a much bigger population that he presides over than Donald Trump, because there's something like 1.3 billion Catholics in the world. Unfortunately, he's not running the US, but I would definitely vote for him.
And we must wish him a happy birthday as well today. He's turned 70 today. So happy birthday to the Pontiff. Let's turn to this sad story in the Sun. We see the photograph there of Ricky Hatton, who was found dead today at the age of 46. Yeah.
It's obviously tragic for Ricky, for all his fans, for his family and friends. The Sun's reporting, of course, that he was discovered by police at his home in Hyde, Greater Manchester, this morning just before 7 o'clock. And tributes, of course, have come in from right across the sporting world. We saw the silence at the Etihad and the applause at the Etihad Stadium for the Manchester Derby in the Premier League, and from those who knew him. I mean, this was, I think some younger viewers might not remember Ricky Hatton and his the success that he enjoyed at the very top of boxing, but he also did a huge amount of work, especially for mental health and mental health campaigns after he retired from the ring.
Christina?
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't really follow boxing, so I can't say that I knew very much about him, but it's just clearly, well, it looks as if he took his own life, and if that was the case, then that is obviously desperately, desperately sad. And
Christina, we have run out of time. Thank you very much for ending there on the life and times of Ricky Hatton, who died today.